The first sort of living creatures, what do you think was maybe like, which sort of...
So, first living things...
Was it dinosaurs or was it...
No.
It depends what you do. So if you're asking what the first living creature was, that's a very different question to
first living
first
animal.
life.
First life, okay.
The mystery of first life on Earth.
So it might be like a plant or something.
So I think what they think so far, as far as, the first thing was, the first type of life was like replicate, like a molecule, like a chemical molecule that could make copies of itself, like DNA.
Okay.
So it's like an ancestor of DNA, basically, which you think it could be called like RNA, right?
Okay.
Then this DNA molecule started to form a protective, like, skin around it.
Membrane, yeah.
Yeah, okay. You're just making it a little bit more accessible, right? Like a skin around it.
Yes.
So
to keep it
So then that would be like your nucleus. And then they thought, oh, you know what would be better? Like, if you had another protective, like, skin around it. And then you have your cell. Now you have basically...
cells.
Actually, you shouldn't start at nucleus because that came way later. So your first cell wouldn't be with the nucleus. So that would be the first sign of life. And I think it's like around 4
pretty soon. It's early,
years. Yeah. So so pretty much as soon as they could be life on a young Earth, there was life.
Okay.
So about 4 billion years.
Okay. And then obviously there were plants, right? That would
still, this is multicellular. So from those early types of microbes, let's say, microbes. Then one of the most important things that happened was that one of these microbial cells, I'll call them, swallowed another one.
Yeah.
Right? So there's one that was really good at producing energy, and there's one that was larger.
Yeah.
And one of these swallowed up the other one.
Okay.
And then instead of just digesting it, they learned to live together.
Oh, okay.
So this one had this protective cell around it, right? And then the benefit for the bigger one was that this was really good at making energy.
Yeah.
So it was just like a good little symbiotic partnership.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And now cells can get much larger, can do more things. Mm-hmm. And you had your first type of cells that are all the bigger living things are made out of, like the plant and you. So we call these eukaryotic cells, if you want to know.
Eukaryotic.
Then there's prokaryotes with the bigger ones, older ones.
Eukaryotic cells.
Yeah, eukaryotic cells. I'm not. So you have these cells, and then now they can do much more functions, and now you can start and have lots more energy, and now you can have all the basic powers, let's say, are there to support much larger, complicated life forms.
Yeah.
And then Eugene's really the expert on
dinosaurs.
The fossil,
dinosaurs are
the history of multicellular life.
There was loads of life, big animals, little animals, creatures in the sea, tiny animals, plants, for millions and millions and millions and millions of years before the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So all the dinosaurs are a type of reptile. So reptiles have been around in all sorts of forms. So crocodiles have been around way, way earlier than the dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. So then
sharks
are way older. So the first dinosaurs really 250 million years ago. But huge life is on planet Earth hundreds of millions of years before that. So do you know the ammonites? It's a classic fossil. It's a sea creature. It's like a shelled squid is the best way to describe it. And it looks like a big snail shell. So they were around with trilobites and another big sort of armoured sea creature 450 million years ago and dominating the planet. So the dinosaurs only evolved as a new species of reptile 250 million years ago. And while the planet looked very different, it was full of life and full of big life, big creatures. So if you went there, clicked your fingers, magicked your way back to Pangaea, which is all the Earth, all the land was stuck together 250 million years ago. Yeah, so if you went there before the dinosaurs, you'd recognise a number of creatures. They might be freakishly large.
Oh yeah. That's like insects were like way bigger back then because there was way more oxygen in the air.
Okay, so they
were like giant,
which weirdly is kind of because trees hadn't evolved.
Yeah.
Okay, so
because trees hadn't evolved, this is a tough one. But bugs, so dragonflies and insects that we see flying around, were vastly larger, sort of your size, my size even, flying around. My size even, I'm not that big. And the reason for that was this. The air was what we would call now over-oxygenated. So they were able, because of the way that they absorb oxygen, they were able to get supermassive for an insect. And then with the evolution, when plants evolved into trees, it was to do with, and I'm not brilliant at this, but the trees would die, and the stuff, this is a tree, this is a dead tree, so they would die. And when they would die, what now eats away all that carbon and that energy in that tree hadn't evolved. So kind of bacteria and the stuff that would decompose that tree hadn't evolved. And that changed, because we had loads and loads of dead trees, that changed the composition of oxygen in the air, which meant the bugs got smaller. But the dinosaurs got bigger.
Yeah.
Yum, yum.
Because they, most of them depend on the trees,
Well, so you have the plant eaters. So it was like an arms race.
Yeah.
So, and you're talking a crazy scale of time. So if you think the first dinosaurs, if we're just going to look at those, were 250 million years ago. And the last dinosaurs were 66 million years ago. So you've got 190 odd million years of dinosaurs. Now, we as humans have been around in various forms for maybe 2 million. So all of our history is that compared to this vast amount of time that the dinosaurs were around. So they had time and time and time to evolve. So just the Tyrannosaurus or the Tyrannosaurs, they were around for 100 million years. Well, the Tyrannosaurs is a genus of dinosaur. So they were around, just that arm of dinosaurs was around for 100 million years. So that arms race to grow, to survive, to evolve, had a huge amount of time to kind of achieve what it achieved. But they died repeatedly. There were mass extinctions over that period of time.
5 so far, and we're in the 6th.
There's been 5, we're in the 6th. And if you just take the dinosaurs, the period the dinosaurs were alive, they started with a mass extinction. Then there was another mass extinction at the end of the, so you've got, get this right, it goes Jurassic, Cretaceous, Triassic. So the end of the Triassic, which is the first third, well, not quite, but let's call it the first third of the dinosaurs living, most things died. Then, which allowed other creatures to get supermassive. So the Stegosaurus, have you heard, do you know the Stegosaurus? Lots and lots of people know the Stegosaurus. By the time the Tyrannosaurus Rex had evolved, the Stegosaurus was already a fossil. So you've got these massive periods. They weren't all rocking around at the same time.
Stegosaurus didn't need to worry about.
Stegosaurus never worried about Tyrannosaurus Rex. It might have met some tyrannosaurs, some early tyrannosaurs.
From the gene pool.
From that genus that became the Tyrannosaurus. So they started becoming what we would call a tyrannosaur about the time that the Stegosaurus was around. But it never would have met a T-Rex. That was way later. So it's just crazy long periods of time.
It's like the mass extinction for the 65 million, they only like wiped out 75%, I think it is.
Of life.
Of life on Earth.
That's the reason we're here. So as mammals.
Open up a niche.
So if you're a tiny little mammal, and remember this is not overnight, and you've got tens of millions of years to evolve. But if all of a sudden all the major creatures in your ecosystem and potentially in your food chain, but it doesn't even have to be in your food chain, are wiped out, you're welcome to the land of opportunity. So those creatures have the opportunity now to evolve and develop and adapt and take on new areas and new species within themselves.
It's kind of like Home Alone in a way. So here's
is it?
So you have what's his name? Kevin Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah,
right.
Kevin.
Everyone in his house leaves. You know, he's all like He has to live in his little room and always bullied and like has to stay safe. You can see where this is going,
Are
right?
we gonna get sued for this?
And then everyone else leaves, right? It goes extinct, and now he can just be himself and goes out, buys food, shaves, and can like live his life the way he wants to.
Yeah.
So it opens up this opportunity. These extinctions always open up these opportunities.